Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's Phoenix, watching the stars blur past the window as his ship cut through space. The mission had taken 18 months, but they were finally heading home to Earth. His crew had done something no human had ever done before. They had traveled beyond their solar system and made contact with alien life. The excitement on the ship was easy to feel. Everyone moved with purpose and energy. They had recordings, data files, and communication logs that would change human history forever. The crew talked in excited whispers about what waited for them back home. Fame medals and a place in the history book seemed certain. Lieutenant Amy Parker walked up to Jake with a worried look on her face. She held a data pad in her hands and kept glancing at it like it might bite her. "Captain, we got another message from those aliens, the ones who call themselves the Galactic Council." Jake took the pad from her hands. The translation program had worked on the alien text, turning their strange symbols into English words. But as he read, his smile slowly faded away. "Class 13 Deathworld?" Jake read the words out loud. "What does that mean?" Dr. Ryan Cooper looked up from his workstation. He had been the first person to figure out how to talk to the aliens. His job was to study alien life, and he had spent months learning their language and customs. "I've been reading their classification system," Ryan said. "They rate planets based on how dangerous they are. Class 1 worlds are perfect. No storms, no dangerous animals, no poisonous plants. Everything is safe and calm. Class 13 is the worst rating they have. They use it for worlds that should kill everything that tries to live there." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing to listen. "They're saying Earth is one of the most dangerous planets in the entire galaxy." Ryan continued. "According to this report, they can't understand how anything lives on our planet, let alone build cities and spaceships." Jake read more of the report. The aliens had listed dozens of things about Earth that scared them. Hurricanes that could destroy entire cities, earthquakes that could split the ground open, volcanoes that could bury whole regions in ash and fire, lightning storms that could kill with a single bolt. But it wasn't just the weather that scared them. They were afraid of Earth's animals too. They wrote about creatures with sharp teeth and claws that could tear flesh, venomous snakes and spiders that could kill with a single bite, sharks that ruled the oceans like underwater monsters. Even Earth's plants worried them. They had found out about poison ivy, deadly mushrooms, and trees that could cause terrible pain just by touching them. To the aliens, Earth was a planet where everything was trying to kill everything else. "Listen to this part," Jake said, reading from the report. "The native species of this world show impossible levels of adaptation and survival ability. They appear to thrive in conditions that would be lethal to most known life forms. The dominant species regularly exposes itself to deadly radiation for recreational purposes." "Deadly radiation?" Amy asked. "They're talking about sunbathing," Ryan said with a short laugh. "They think lying in the sun for fun is proof that humans are crazy." Sergeant Tony Martinez, who ran the communication systems, got another message. He read it quickly, and his face went pale. "Captain, they want to put our entire solar system under quarantine. They're sending ships to make sure nothing from Earth can leave and spread to other worlds. They think we're some kind of plague." Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. They had gone into space to make friends with alien civilizations. Instead, they had found a galaxy full of species that were terrified of Earth and everything on it. "Sir," Amy said, "there's more. They want to study us, but they want to do it from a safe distance. They're calling us an evolutionary impossibility and a biological weapon created by natural selection." The crew looked at each other in shock. Back on Earth, people were probably getting ready to celebrate humanity's first contact with aliens. Parties were being planned. Scientists were preparing welcome speeches. World leaders were practicing their first words to an alien species. But the aliens didn't want to be welcomed. They wanted to hide from Earth behind walls of space and protective barriers. Ryan pulled up more files on his computer. I've been comparing their worlds to ours. Most alien species come from planets with perfect weather all year round. No storms, no temperature changes, no natural disasters. Their worst predators are about as dangerous as Earth rabbits. They've never had to deal with anything like tigers, bears, or great white sharks. And they've never had to survive ice ages, meteor impacts, or massive volcanic eruptions, Jake added. Earth has been trying to kill everything on it for billions of years. The only species that survived were the ones that learned to adapt and fight back. That's us, Amy said quietly. We're the survivors of a planet that most aliens think should be empty and dead. The communication system made a sound, and Tony got another message. This one was longer than the others, and it took the translation program several minutes to work through it. They're asking if we can prove that humans are not a threat to galactic peace, Tony said. They want us to show them that we're not planning to invade other worlds or spread Earth's biological contamination to peaceful planets. Jake sat down in his captain's chair and thought about what they had learned. Earth, the beautiful blue world that had given birth to humanity, was seen as a nightmare planet by the rest of the galaxy. Humans who thought of themselves as explorers and dreamers were seen as terrifying monsters who had somehow survived on a world that should have killed them all. The trip home was going to be very different from what they had expected. Instead of returning as heroes who had made humanity's first alien friends, they were returning as representatives of a species that had accidentally scared an entire galaxy. Set course for Earth, Jake said finally, and send a message ahead. Tell them we need to have a very long talk about what we found out here. The U.S. Phoenix turned toward home, carrying news that would change everything humans thought they knew about their place in the universe. 3 weeks had passed since the U.S. Phoenix returned to Earth with news that changed everything. The ship now sat docked at Lunar Station Alpha, a new space station built quickly around the moon. Earth's governments had worked together, faster than anyone thought possible. They knew this was bigger than any one country. Ambassador Helen Carter walked through the busy hallways of the station. Scientists, soldiers, and diplomats from every nation on Earth had come together for one purpose. They needed to figure out why the galaxy was afraid of them and what to do about it. The station hummed with activity day and night. People worked in shifts around the clock, trying to prepare for formal contact with alien civilizations. But it was hard to prepare when those aliens thought you were monsters from a nightmare world. General Chris Evans met Helen in the main conference room. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls, showing the locations of different alien species. Red zones marked areas where Earth ships were not allowed to go. The red zones covered most of the galaxy. Any progress on understanding their fear? Helen asked. Chris shook his head. Dr. Cooper thinks he's starting to figure it out, but the news isn't good. It turns out we really are as scary as they think we are. Dr. Ryan Cooper looked tired. He had been working without much sleep, trying to understand alien psychology and biology. Piles of data covered his desk. Alien texts, translation programs, and biological comparison charts filled every screen in his workspace. I've been comparing Earth life to life on their worlds, Ryan said. The differences are huge. What we think is normal would be impossible on most alien planets. Show us, Helen said. Ryan pulled up images on the main screen. The first picture showed a peaceful alien world. The sky was always the same soft color. Gentle rivers flowed through green fields. Small, harmless animals grazed in meadows that never changed. This is a typical Class 1 world, Ryan explained. Perfect temperature all the time. No storms, no earthquakes, no volcanoes. The most dangerous animal is about as threatening as a butterfly. Plants grow slowly and never produce toxins. The next image showed Earth during a thunderstorm. Lightning split the dark sky. Rain poured down hard enough to flood streets. Wind bent trees until they almost broke. To us, this is just Tuesday weather in many parts of Earth. To them, this is an extinction event. They can't imagine how anything survives conditions like this, let alone build cities in places where storms like this happen regularly. Captain Jake Morrison had stayed on the station as a military advisor. He joined the meeting and sat down heavily in a chair. "It gets worse," Jake said. "I've been reading their reports about human biology. They think our immune systems are biological weapons. They can't understand how we carry billions of bacteria in our bodies without dying." "Our normal bacteria?" Helen asked. "Normal to us," Ryan said, "but most alien species evolved in sterile environments. Their bodies can't handle the kind of bacterial diversity that humans live with every day. What protects us from disease would kill most of them in hours." The group sat in shocked silence for a moment. "There's more," Ryan continued. "They're amazed that humans can eat such a wide variety of foods. Most alien species can only digest a few types of specially prepared nutrients. The fact that humans can eat everything from meat to vegetables to dairy products seems impossible to them." "They mentioned something about toxins," Chris said. "Coffee, alcohol, spicy food, chocolate." Ryan listed. "All of these contain chemicals that would be poisonous to most alien species. They think humans consume deadly toxins for pleasure, which makes us look like we're immune to poison." Amy Parker, who had been promoted after the mission, entered the room with new intelligence reports. "The alien fleets have taken positions around our solar system," she reported. "They're not attacking, but they're not letting anything in or out either. They've built a barrier of ships and sensors around us. A quarantine," Helen said. "But here's the interesting part," Amy continued. "Their ships are staying very far away from Earth. Even their long-range sensors seem to have trouble getting clear readings of our planet. I think they're actually afraid to look too closely." Dr. Sarah Kim, a new member of the team who specialized in evolutionary biology, had been studying alien evolution patterns. She brought disturbing news to the meeting. "I've figured out why they're so afraid," Sarah said. "Most galactic species achieved intelligence through cooperation in stable environments. They evolved to work together and avoid conflict because their worlds were safe and predictable." "And humans?" Chris asked. "Humans achieved intelligence through constant adaptation to threats. Our brains evolved to solve problems, overcome dangers, and survive in changing conditions. From their perspective, we're a species that was literally trained by our planet to be survivors and problem solvers." "That doesn't sound so bad," Helen said. "It does to them," Sarah replied. "They see us as a species that thrives on challenges and conflict. They think we might actually enjoy dangerous situations because that's how we evolved. And they're not entirely wrong." Jake laughed despite the serious situation. "They should see humans during extreme sports competitions. We really do seek out danger for fun." "That's exactly the problem," Sarah said. "Most aliens spend their entire lives avoiding any kind of risk or danger. The idea of seeking out dangerous situations for entertainment is completely alien to them. It makes us look like a species of thrill-seeking warriors." Tony Martinez joined the meeting with communication updates from Earth. "The news has reached the general population," Tony reported. "Most people are taking it well, but there are some interesting reactions. Some groups are actually proud that Earth is considered the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. They're calling it proof that humans are the toughest species in the universe." "And others?" Helen asked. "Others are worried that we'll never be accepted by galactic civilization. They think we'll be forever isolated because we're too scary for aliens to be around." Ryan pulled up another set of data. "I've been studying their technology too. Their ships and stations are built for perfect safety. Multiple backup systems for everything. environments that never change. They've eliminated almost all risk from their daily lives, which makes us look even more dangerous by comparison. Chris said, "Exactly. They can't understand how humans live with acceptable levels of risk. We drive cars at high speeds, fly in aircraft, live in earthquake zones, and build cities next to volcanoes. To them, this proves that humans have no sense of self-preservation." Helen stood up and looked at the galaxy map on the wall. Hundreds of alien civilizations were marked in blue, representing peaceful species that had joined galactic society. Earth was marked in red, sitting alone in its quarantine zone. "So what do we do?" she asked. "How do we convince an entire galaxy that we're not the monsters they think we are?" Sarah had an idea. "Maybe we don't try to convince them we're not dangerous. Maybe we show them that being dangerous doesn't mean being evil. Earth made us tough, but it also made us protective. We fight threats, but we also fight to protect others." "You're suggesting we prove our worth through action rather than words," Chris said. "Exactly. We show them that Earth didn't just create survivors. It created protectors." Jake nodded slowly. "The galaxy is afraid of us because we can survive anything. But maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needs. Someone who can go where others can't, survive what others can't, and help what others can't." The meeting ended with a new plan forming. Instead of trying to prove they were harmless, humanity would prove they were helpful. They would show the galaxy that Earth's dangerous reputation came with an unexpected benefit. When the galaxy faced its own dangers, humans would be the ones capable of helping. But first, they had to get the aliens to listen long enough to see the difference between dangerous and evil. That would be the hardest part of all. The first formal meeting with the Galactic Council took place on their massive space station at the edge of Earth's solar system. The station was larger than any human city, stretching for miles in every direction. Its white walls gleamed in the light of distant stars, and thousands of lights blinked across its surface like a metallic constellation. Ambassador Helen Carter led the human delegation aboard their shuttle as it approached the alien station. General Chris Evans sat beside her, looking uncomfortable in his dress uniform. Dr. Ryan Cooper and Captain Jake Morrison completed the team, along with several other specialists who had trained for months for this moment. The shuttle docked with a soft bump. Through the windows, they could see alien technology everywhere. Smooth walls curved in impossible directions. Lights pulsed in patterns that made no sense to human eyes. The air itself seemed to shimmer with energy fields and protective barriers. As soon as they stepped off the shuttle, the differences became clear. The hallways were perfectly climate-controlled. Not a single degree of temperature variation. The humidity never changed. Even the lighting remained exactly the same. Brightness throughout the entire station. Their alien escorts wore full environmental suits despite the controlled conditions. 3 different species guided them through the corridors, but none of them would come within 10 feet of the humans. They communicated through speakers built into their suits, their voices filtered and processed to remove any trace of emotion or personality. "Welcome to Council Station Prime," said their lead escort, a tall figure whose species Helen didn't recognize. "Please remain within the designated safe zones at all times. Do not touch any surfaces unnecessarily. Do not remove any protective equipment that has been provided." Helen looked down at her normal diplomatic clothing. "We weren't given any protective equipment. That is because your species appears to be immune to standard environmental hazards." The escort replied, "This fact is noted in your file as extremely concerning." The corridors they walked through were clearly designed for maximum safety. There were no sharp corners anywhere. Every surface was smooth and rounded. Emergency exits appeared every few yards, and medical stations were built into the walls at regular intervals. General Evans whispered to Jake, "This place makes a hospital look dangerous." They entered the main council chamber through a series of airlocks and decontamination fields. The chamber itself was enormous, with seating for hundreds of different alien species. But what struck the humans most was the massive transparent barrier that separated a small section from the rest of the room. "You will address the council from within the containment area," their escort explained. "Containment area?" Helen asked. "It is for the safety of all council members. Your species produces biological contaminants that could be harmful to other life forms." The humans were led to what was essentially a large glass box in the center of the chamber. The walls were thick and sealed completely. Air was pumped in through filtered systems. Even the microphones they would use to speak had been sterilized. Multiple times. Council Speaker Zethkar approached the barrier from the other side. The being was tall and thin, with skin that looked like living crystal. When it moved, light reflected from its surface in beautiful patterns. But it stayed at least 20 feet away from the human containment area. "We welcome you to the Galactic community," Zethkar said through the communication system. "However, we must discuss the necessary protocols for your species' integration into civilized space." "What kind of protocols?" Helen asked. Counselor Vexani joined the speaker. This alien looked like a giant insect, with multiple arms and compound eyes that seemed to look in all directions at once. Its voice came through the speakers with a buzzing undertone that made it sound mechanical. "Your homeworld produces organisms capable of surviving in conditions that would eliminate most known life forms," Vexani explained. "Your own bodies host billions of microorganisms. You consume substances that are toxic to the majority of galactic species. You expose yourselves to radiation levels that would be lethal to our people." Dr. Cooper couldn't help but smile. "You're talking about our immune system, coffee, and sunshine." The reaction from the aliens was immediate and dramatic. Several council members actually moved further away from the containment area. Others activated additional protective barriers around their seating areas. "The human displays aggressive behavior," announced another counselor, whose species resembled large blue humanoids. "This confirms the psychological profile indicating high levels of territorial aggression." "I was just explaining that those things aren't dangerous," Ryan said, confused. "The fact that your species considers these things safe only proves how adapted you are to lethal conditions," Zethkar replied. "This makes you more dangerous, not less." Helen raised her hand in what she hoped was a peaceful gesture. "Perhaps we could show you some examples of Earth life to prove that we're not the monsters you think we are." The council members spent several minutes discussing this proposal in hushed tones. Finally, Zethkar agreed. "You may present evidence, but it must remain within the containment field at all times." The humans had prepared carefully for this moment. They brought what they considered the most harmless examples of Earth life they could find. Dr. Cooper opened the first container, revealing a small fern plant in a clear pot. The reaction from the council was immediate shock. "This organism is alive?" asked Counselor Thralinex, whose species had blue skin and large black eyes. "Yes," Ryan said. "It's a common houseplant on Earth. It grows in the shade of our forests and helps clean the air by processing carbon dioxide." "Impossible," Thralinex whispered. "Plants on our worlds require carefully controlled environments, specific nutrients, and constant monitoring. This specimen appears to be thriving in what you consider normal atmospheric conditions." "It's just a fern," Jake said. "Kids on Earth grow these in their bedrooms." The aliens exchanged what could only be described as horrified looks. Next, humans showed recordings of daily life on Earth. The videos had been carefully selected to show peaceful human activities. Children playing in parks, families having picnics, people swimming at beaches. The council watched in complete silence as the images played on screens throughout the chamber. "These small humans," Vexani pointed at a video of children playing. "Soccer, are they your young?" "Yes," Helen replied. "They're playing a game we call soccer. Without protective equipment?" "They don't need protective equipment for soccer. They are in direct sunlight. They are breathing unfiltered atmosphere. They are making physical contact with the ground and with each other. The council members looked at each other with expressions that clearly showed terror. Your young engage in combat training while exposed to deadly environmental conditions? Zethkar asked. It's not combat training, Helen explained. It's a game. They play it for fun. Fun, repeated Thralanek slowly, as if the word were foreign. You allow your offspring to expose themselves to mortal danger for entertainment purposes. General Evans stepped forward. What do your children do for fun? Our young engage in supervised intellectual development in completely safe environments. Vexani replied. They solve puzzles, create art, and socialize with others of their species. Physical contact is minimal and always monitored for safety. They never play outside? Jake asked. Outside is where the dangers are, Zethkar said. Why would we expose our young to unnecessary risks? The humans began to understand just how different their worlds really were. What they considered normal. Childhood activities. These aliens saw as proof that humans were willing to sacrifice their children to dangerous environments. The meeting continued for hours, but it became clear that the gap between human and alien understanding was enormous. Every explanation the humans gave only seemed to make the aliens more afraid. As the session ended, Helen realized they had a much bigger problem than they thought. The aliens weren't just afraid of human strength or technology. They were afraid of human nature itself. The very things that made humans human were the things that terrified the rest of the galaxy. The real work of bridging this gap was just beginning. The diplomatic meetings had been going on for 2 weeks, and the humans were starting to understand that their problem was much bigger than they had thought. Every conversation with the aliens revealed new differences between their species. What humans considered normal, aliens saw as proof of their dangerous nature. Captain Jake Morrison found himself talking with Counselor Vexani during one of the break periods. The insect-like alien had shown more curiosity about humans than most of the other council members. They communicated through the translation system while staying safely separated by the protective barriers. I have been studying your species' recreational activities, Vexani said. The concept is difficult for us to understand. You mentioned that humans engage in dangerous behaviors for pleasure. Jake thought about how to explain this without making humans sound even more frightening. Well, we like challenges. We enjoy testing ourselves against difficult situations. Could you provide specific examples? Jake began listing activities that millions of humans enjoyed every day. We swim in oceans with waves and currents. We climb mountains and explore caves. We camp in forests where wild animals live. Some people like to jump out of airplanes with parachutes. The silence that followed was so complete that Jake wondered if the translation system had broken. Finally, Vexani spoke. You said jump out of aircraft? Skydiving. People do it for fun. You jump out of a perfectly good airplane, fall through the air for a while, then open a parachute to land safely. This is done voluntarily. Millions of people do it every year. Some do it hundreds of times. Jake could see other council members gathering around to listen to the conversation. Their body language suggested they were hearing something that shocked them deeply. Let me understand correctly, said Counselor Thralanek, joining the discussion. Your species deliberately places itself in mortal danger for entertainment purposes. It's not really mortal danger if you know what you're doing, Jake explained. We have safety equipment and training. But the possibility of death exists. Well, yes, but it's very small if you follow the rules. Dr. Sarah Kim had been listening to the conversation from across the room. She walked over to join Jake, realizing that this might be the key to understanding the alien mindset. Counselor Vexani, Sarah said, what do your people do for recreation? We engage in intellectual puzzles, artistic creation, and social gatherings. Vexani replied, All activities take place in controlled environments with complete safety protocols. Your people never seek out challenges or test their abilities. Why would we? Testing implies the possibility of failure. Failure could lead to harm or death. We have evolved beyond the need for such primitive behaviors. Sarah exchanged a look with Jake. This was the heart of the misunderstanding. I'm beginning to see the real difference between our species, Sarah said. May I ask how your people achieved space travel? Through careful planning, extensive testing, and gradual development over thousands of years, Thrallinax answered. Every step was thoroughly tested in safe conditions before implementation, and if you encountered unexpected problems, we would retreat to safety and develop new solutions in controlled environments. Sarah nodded slowly. Humans developed space travel differently. When we encountered problems, we often had to solve them while the problems were happening. We learned to think quickly under pressure because our planet gave us no choice. Dr. Ryan Cooper joined the conversation, carrying data files about human evolution. I've been comparing evolutionary development across different species, Ryan sighed. Most galactic civilizations evolved on worlds with stable climates and few environmental threats. They achieved intelligence through cooperation and careful planning. And humans? Vexani asked. Humans evolved on a world where the environment changed constantly. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, climate shifts, natural disasters. The human brain developed to solve problems quickly under stress, because that was the only way to survive. This explains your recreational activities, Thrallinax said with what sounded like understanding. You seek danger because your minds require stimulation and challenge to function properly. Not exactly, Sarah corrected. We seek challenges because overcoming difficulties gives us satisfaction. It's how we grow and improve as individuals. The aliens discussed this among themselves in their own languages. When they turned back to the humans, their attitude seemed different. We are beginning to understand, Vexani said. Your species has been shaped by constant adversity. This has created minds that function differently from ours. Ambassador Helen Carter had been observing these conversations from her position in the containment area. She saw an opportunity to change the direction of the discussions. The real question, Helen said, is whether being different makes us enemies or allies. Explain, said Council Speaker Zethkar, who had been listening quietly. Our world shaped us in different ways, Helen continued. Your worlds taught your people to value safety and careful planning. Our world taught us to adapt quickly and overcome obstacles. These aren't opposing philosophies. They could be complementary. General Chris Evans stepped forward. Every civilization faces unexpected challenges. Natural disasters, equipment failures, situations that require quick thinking and rapid response. When those situations arise, wouldn't it be useful to have allies who are trained by their very nature to handle such problems? The council members exchanged glances. For the first time since the meetings began, they seemed to be considering humans as something other than a threat. You are suggesting a partnership based on complementary abilities? Zethkar asked. Exactly, Helen replied. Your people excel at long-term planning and creating stable, safe environments. Our people excel at rapid adaptation and crisis response. Together, we could be stronger than either of us alone. Captain Morrison had an idea. What if we could prove that our dangerous nature actually makes us helpful rather than threatening? How would you do that? Vexani asked. Let us help you. With something, Jake said. Give us a problem that requires the kind of rapid adaptation and risk-taking that scares you about us. Let us show you that we use these abilities to help others, not harm them. The council went into emergency session to discuss this proposal. For 3 hours, the humans waited in their containment area, while aliens debated in languages they couldn't understand. When the council returned, Zethkar had an announcement. "We have identified a situation that might serve as a test," the speaker said. "There is a mining colony on a distant world that has experienced catastrophic equipment failure. The environment has become extremely dangerous. Our rescue teams cannot operate safely in those conditions." "What kind of dangerous?" Ryan asked. "Unstable geological activity, toxic atmospheric contamination, and extreme temperature fluctuations," Vexani listed. "Conditions that would be fatal to our species within minutes." The humans looked at each other. On Earth, those conditions would be challenging but not impossible to work in with proper equipment. "How many people need to be rescued?" Helen asked. "Approximately 200 miners from various species, trapped in underground facilities." "We'll do it," Jake said without hesitation. The council members seemed surprised by the immediate acceptance. "You would risk your lives for beings you have never met, on a world you have never seen, in conditions that could kill you?" Thralanex asked. "That's what people do," Helen replied simply. "When others are in danger, you help them." For the first time, the aliens seemed to see humans not as monsters from a death world, but as potential saviors willing to go where others could. Not that the real test of human-alien relations was about to begin. 6 months had passed since the first human rescue mission to the mining colony on Kepler 442b. That mission had changed everything. Captain Jake Morrison now commanded a new type of ship, the UES Guardian, built specifically for rescue operations. In dangerous environments that other species could not survive, the ship's bridge buzzed with activity as they received another emergency call. Lieutenant Amy Parker, now Jake's second in command, monitored the communication systems while the rest of the crew prepared for another impossible mission. "Guardian, this is Council Emergency Command," came the transmission through the speakers. "We have a distress signal from the research station orbiting Rigel 7. Solar flares have damaged their systems and they're losing life support. Estimated survival time is 18 hours. Amy checked the mission details on her screen. "Captain, the radiation levels around that star are off the charts. Council ships can't get close enough to help without their crews dying from exposure." Jake looked at the data and smiled. To humans, it was just another day at work. "Looks like Tuesday in space." "Plot a course, Lieutenant. Let's go save some people." The UE's Guardian jumped into hyperspace, heading toward a rescue that no other species in the galaxy could attempt. Behind them, Earth continued its endless rotation around the sun, no longer seen as a cursed death world, but as the birthplace of the galaxy's most capable rescue force. On Earth itself, everything had changed. The planet that had once been quarantined was now the center of the galaxy's emergency response network. The Terran Response Corps had bases on 3 continents, training centers on the Moon, and rescue ships stationed throughout human space. Dr. Ryan Cooper worked at the new Interspecies Research Station on Luna, where alien scientists came to study Earth life in carefully controlled conditions. The station had become famous throughout the galaxy as the place where impossible biology was explained and understood. The key breakthrough, Ryan explained to a group of visiting alien researchers, was realizing that Earth didn't create monsters. It created adapters. Every species on our planet learned to survive change, and humans are just the most successful example. The alien scientists watched through protective barriers as Ryan demonstrated how Earth plants could grow in varying conditions. What had once seemed like magic to them now made scientific sense. Though it was still impressive. Ambassador Helen Carter addressed the Galactic Council from the main chamber, but this time there were no protective barriers between her and the alien representatives. It had taken months of careful exposure, but many alien species had learned that humans were not actually dangerous to be around. The Terran Response Corps has now completed over 300 rescue missions, Helen announced to the assembled council. "We have saved lives on 40 different worlds and prevented 6 major disasters, that could have destroyed entire colonies. Council Speaker Zethkar stood to respond. The crystalline being no longer seemed afraid when speaking to humans. The success of human rescue operations has exceeded all expectations. Your species has proven that survival skills can be used for protection rather than aggression. In the gallery above the main chamber, representatives from dozens of alien civilizations watched the proceedings. Many of them had personal reasons to be grateful to humanity. Their people, their colonies, or their ships had been saved by human rescue teams. The vote was announced by Councillor Vexani, who had become one of humanity's strongest supporters. The Council votes unanimously to grant full membership status to the human species and to officially establish the Terran Response Corps as the galaxy's primary emergency rescue organization. The chamber erupted in what could only be called celebration, though it was much quieter and more controlled than a human celebration would have been. On the bridge of the UES Guardian, Captain Morrison and his crew were already approaching the damaged research station near Rigel 7. The star's radiation bathed the area in deadly energy that would kill most alien species in minutes. Radiation levels are high but manageable, reported Dr. Sarah Kim, who had joined the Guardian's crew as chief medical officer. We'll need to limit exposure time, but we can safely operate in this environment for several hours. The damaged station came into view on their screens. It was a beautiful piece of alien engineering, all smooth curves and elegant design. But now it tumbled slowly through space, its lights flickering as power systems failed. Guardian to research station, do you copy? Amy transmitted. A weak signal came back. Guardian, this is Station Director Kethmo. We have 47 researchers from 6 different species trapped aboard. Our life support is failing, and we cannot repair the damage ourselves. Understood, Director. We're coming to get you. Prepare your people for evacuation. The rescue operation took 4 hours. Human teams in radiation-resistant suits boarded the dying station and carried out researchers who could never have survived in such conditions. One by one, they brought the alien scientists to safety aboard the Guardian. Director Kethmal was among the last to be evacuated. The alien scientist looked at Jake with something that might have been wonder. I have studied your species extensively, Kethmal said as human medics checked the survivors for radiation exposure. I thought I understood what made humans different. But seeing you risk your lives for people you have never met, in conditions that could kill you, I realize there is something more. What's that? Jake asked. Your planet did not just teach you to survive. It taught you that survival means helping others survive too. Back on Earth, news of the successful rescue spread quickly. In cities around the world, humans watched the reports with pride. They were no longer the scary residents of a Deathworld. They were the galaxy's protectors, the ones who could go anywhere and save anyone. The Terran Response Corps recruitment center saw long lines of volunteers. People from every country and background wanted to join the organization that had made humanity heroes instead of monsters. General Chris Evans stood in the main command center, watching the displays that showed human rescue ships positioned throughout the galaxy. Red dots marked active missions. Green dots showed successful rescues. The screen was filled with green. Status report, Chris asked his aide. 17 active missions, sir. 3 medical evacuations, 5 equipment failures, 4 natural disasters, and 5 search and rescue operations. All proceeding normally, Chris smiled. Normally now meant that humans were routinely doing things that the rest of the galaxy considered impossible. Ambassador Carter received a private communication from Council Speaker Zethkar later that day. Ambassador, the speaker said, I wanted to personally thank you for helping us understand your species. When we first learned of Earth, we thought we had discovered the most dangerous world in the galaxy. We were right, but we misunderstood what that danger meant. How so? Helen asked. We thought a dangerous world would create dangerous people. Instead, it created people who protect others from danger. Earth is still a Class 13 death world, but now we understand that such worlds serve a purpose. They create the guardians that the galaxy needs. Helen looked out the window of her office at the blue marble of Earth, spinning peacefully in space. The planet that had been feared and quarantined was now honored and respected. Ships from across the galaxy came to Earth to request help, to study, and to learn. Perhaps, Helen replied, the galaxy needs its death worlds after all. Not despite their danger, but because of it. The classification of Earth as a Class 13 death world remained unchanged in the official records. But now that classification came with a new understanding. Death worlds did not just create survivors. They created the people who would risk everything to make sure others survived too. When the galaxy faced its darkest moments, when disasters struck and hope seemed lost, the call went out across the stars. Send the humans. And from Earth, from humanity's impossible world of storms and predators and endless challenges, the answer always came back. We're on our way. The most dangerous planet in the galaxy had become its greatest source of hope.